Welcome to Gorillapreneur, the Art of Waging Small Business Warfare podcast, teaching Davids how to defeat Goliaths. Now here's your host, Mark Anthony Peterson.
Welcome back to the podcast for entrepreneurs, startups, and business mavericks. If you're not a maverick, you don't have to go home, but you got to get up out of this podcast. In this podcast, we teach entrepreneurs how to defeat the corporate giant. Just like in the story of David and Goliath, David defeated a much taller and stronger Goliath, not by fighting the giant in hand-to-hand combat, but by using technology. A slingshot. The slingshot allowed the smaller David to attack from a distance that minimized the advantages that Goliath had over the smaller David. My name is Mark Anthony Peterson. I'm a serial entrepreneur, a futurist, and the managing executive at Serial Consulting, a small business strategy and technology consulting firm. I am also the author of the book Gorillapreneur, Small Business Strategy for Davids Wanting to Defeat Goliaths, which is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes. This podcast is brought to you by Serial Consulting. An idea can launch a business. A strategy can take it global. Guys, please support the show. We're on Patreon at patreon.com/gorillapreneur. Make a one-time donation or make a monthly donation and help us bring a fab lab to the Black Belt South. If you can't make a financial contribution, please subscribe, like the show, leave a comment, do it in iTunes, do it in the Apple Podcast app or on Podomatic or Stitcher or any of the other platforms where you like to consume podcasts. Please just do it. And I know you will, because you're good people. Today's show, I'm going to give you a recap of TechCrunch Disrupt 2008 conference. It blew my mind. I loved being there, loved being in San Francisco, loved being around people who were throwing around hundreds of millions of dollars on ideas that may or may not make it. And if they made it, they probably would change the way we do commerce in this country. It was the most electrifying, thrilling 3-day experience I've had in a very long time. Second only probably to my honeymoon. First, I want to give you some snippets from two amazing CEOs who were interviewed at the conference. Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi and Cruze co-founder Cal Voigt. Then second, I want to follow up with some amazing one-on-one interviews with some entrepreneurs who had booths at the conference, and I interviewed them because I thought they had disruptive technology. But first, let's jump in with Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi. If you've listened to this podcast long enough, you know that I think Uber is moving towards a more multiple transportation mode platform with the hope at one day of managing all transportation for cities. And the Uber CEO all but claimed that in this interview when he started out first by telling you that Uber was shifting towards a more scooter-centric strategy. Listen to this clip.
We are in the business of both bikes and scooters, both through partnership and through proprietary means as well. And this is the advantage that we have in building a platform. You know, one of the big changes that we want to make is that take Uber from being just a ride-hailing company to moving Uber to be a mobility company, a transportation company. And really what we're trying to do is disaggregate car ownership, right? It's an incredible piece of engineering that is used for multiple use cases, right? It's going to work, taking your kids to school, maybe not this crowd, but trust me, you'll get there, getting groceries, going out to dinner, etc. And so you had to build this one piece of engineering that could do all of these multiple tasks. And it didn't make sense to have purpose-built vehicles for each of these use cases, but when you get to dense environments like a city, you get to service architecture and services that are constantly available, on your phone, you can actually start to disaggregate each of those use cases. And so, for example, in San Francisco, if you are going 2.5 miles, you want to get to a place 2.5 miles away, and you're going alone, you shouldn't take a car. Mm-hmm. That's bad for the city. It's not the right decision for you to make. And the advantage that we have is that we have an incredible audience who's telling us where they're coming from, where they want to go to, and we can then pick for that audience. And by the way, the audience is going to, the individual user is going to make their choice. We can optimize for them as to how is it that you want to travel those 2.4 miles, 2.5 miles, and in our case, we're going to want to get you on a jump bike. It's good for the city. The city has less traffic. It's probably better for the user because it's a healthy way to get around, and you might be able to get there faster. And overall, it increases engagement with our platform. And bit by bit by bit, we can start disaggregating the car and move into a complete service environment. The tech behind that, the routing algorithms that you have to build, what you offer to the users is actually really cool, complex math that our engineers are pretty excited to build out.
Next, Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi talks about autonomous cars. As we know, autonomous cars are going to be the future for Uber in trying to change the way we think about transportation, both in terms of eliminating labor, but also creating more options for more people. Well, Uber's had several setbacks, including a death that has occurred as a result of some of the testing that they were doing with autonomous cars. The CEO talks about what that did to the company and what they're going to do going forward.
It was an enormous wake-up call for the company. And you think about these possibilities theoretically, and, real life just hits you in the face. So we instantly took our cars off the road. It was absolutely the right thing to do. And we have been fundamentally rethinking our building process, testing process, simulation process, testing and track process. All of it we're essentially rebuilding from the ground up. I actually think we're going to be a better company for it, but we are taking this stuff as seriously as the situation demands it.
Everybody knows that Uber is about to go public, but many are skeptical of whether or not the company can succeed in a public market. But the Uber CEO reassures everyone that Uber is ready, that the company has high year-over-year growth, and that the road may be bumpy and that some shareholders shouldn't get in, but it's going to be well worth it in a market that's worth $6 trillion for a company that's now only at $50 billion in gross revenues.
I think that investors are not as short-term as people make them out to be. I think the public markets is willing to pay for growth and is willing to pay very big value for growth. And the market size that we're dealing with in replacing car ownership, the transportation market that we're going after is $6 trillion. And we're doing close to $50 billion in gross bookings. So the size of the market ahead of us and the growth ahead of us is extraordinary. And within Uber, we've got the base ride-sharing business that continues to grow, that's global, that now we're gaining share on our competition, and really we are the unrivaled global leader in ride-sharing. We've got the Eats business, which is now the largest delivery platform in the world outside of China. And then we've got businesses like bikes and scooters and freight. And if you look at Eats and bikes and freight, and you track these three businesses in the early days, and I'd say Eats is in the middle days, against UberX and the growth of UberX, we've got three businesses that kind of look like UberX, right? And the Uber business, the UberX business, which is the largest part of Uber, there have been few companies in the world that have been able to grow at those rates and scale at those rates, and we've got actually 4 of them in one portfolio. So I think when we tell that story to investors and the street, we're going to find plenty of investors who want that kind of growth opportunity in a market as large as the $6 trillion transportation market. And if there's an investor who is obsessed with quarterly results, probably not the right investor for us. But if there's an investor that is interested in a company that is revolutionizing transportation and is by far the best positioned in terms of the assets under our portfolio, along with autonomous technology as well, then we're the one to invest in. So I think we're going to find plenty of investors in the public market. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of discipline that you have to bring into play. But listen, I was a public market CEO for 13, 14 years. I understand the gig there.
To be a total transportation company. And he breaks it down in this next clip.
I think our core business will be getting you from point A to B. We want to be the Amazon of transportation. Any way that you want to either move around or you want to get or move things or food in an urban destination, we want you to come to Uber. And we think because we've got a global scope, because we've got an unrivaled audience, and because of our technology, we're going to be able to offer to the consumer more choice and the right choice at the right price for anyone getting from one point in their city to another point. And ultimately, hopefully 10 years from now, no one in the audience is going to own a car.
In the episode with Tanya Kinslow of You Gotta Eat, we talk about the importance of knowing when to pivot. Cal Voigt, the founder of Cruze, gives a great explanation on why he had to pivot. He saw a better strategy that was going to yield more value. And though he was already 1/3 of the way towards executing the initial concept, he dropped everything and made a 180-degree turn towards the greater value strategy. Let's listen to his explanation as to why they had to pivot.
Cruze started the master plan was that doing self-driving cars is too expensive and too complicated for a startup to do. So we're going to do the simplest thing we possibly can and retrofit existing vehicles with some functionality that gives them additional, features or functionality that people would want and be willing to pay for. And so we started building basically a highway autopilot system before autopilot as it exists today was around. And that was our business model. We were going to sell these kits or retrofit, existing vehicles and make them really cool, basically make them into self-driving cars with limited capabilities and use the profits from that to actually do, driverless cars at scale, which we're doing today. But as we started going down that road, we realized this problem, actually succeeding at this business, is going to be a lot harder than we thought, because we did a survey of potential customers and we found that our hope was that everyone in a certain city, a lot of people are going to have a Honda Civic or a Chevy Cruze or a certain type of vehicle or something, and we'll only have to retrofit a few kinds of vehicles. But it turned out there's like hundreds of different types of vehicles and different makes and models, and actually making the system work on each one of them was going to be really, really hard. And at the same time that was happening, we sort of watched the rideshare companies become huge, and we knew that this sort of critical ingredient to make ride-sharing really successful is sort of the software. And today that software is human drivers. But I think you can make a better and less expensive and more capable version of that software with driverless cars. And so we're like, we're just going to go for it. This is what we signed up to do anyway. And now that there's interest from a market perspective, maybe we can skip step one of this master plan, which is make all the profits from that early business and just go straight forward.
In episode 33, I teach you how to fight like a gorillapreneur. In that episode, I introduced a new framework called the 4 Ds for gorillapreneur market fighting. On that 2x2 framework, one axis had market rate growth and the others had barrier to entry. When you broke that 2x2 down, one of the quadrants tells every entrepreneur when faced with high capital and high growth that you basically needed to partner. I went on to state that Tesla should have followed that same advice. Cal Voigt basically just gave Elon Musk a backslap right at the TechCrunch Disrupt conference by saying that's exactly what he did when he partnered with General Motors, and then he breaks down the reasons why. Take a listen.
A company like General Motors, a very large company, has vast resources and capabilities. And so it's almost like we've got this, room service menu of things we can go find. It's like we need help, in real estate department negotiating a lease. We can go find a person to do that in GM. Or like we need to figure out how to make this part that's vibrating and squeaking in the car. We need to have 5 engineers jump on that who have done this stuff for 100 years and know how to do it. Another thing that GM is really good at is at validating vehicles and making sure that they come out of the assembly line basically with a low defect rate and they're going to last for hundreds of thousands of miles, but also on system safety. And safety is a big topic in this industry, and it should be. And it's nice to have, the perspective of people who have basically seen it all and know how to approach these problems. And so there's vast resources inside of GM that we can kind of tap into when we need to. And that's... despite the prevalence of Silicon Valley hubris and this attitude that we can do everything, I think the wiser thing that I've realized, or the thing that I've learned is, you don't want to reinvent everything. You want to focus on inventing the things that are core to your business, and you can do really well and uniquely well, and partner and rely on others who have experts in other domains. And that's what we're doing.
Next, I went out onto the floor to meet with some of the entrepreneurs who were displaying at the conference. I came across Kiwi Robots. These guys have built a little Mars rover type robot delivery vehicle that can take food directly to your door. I interviewed some of their team and tried to figure out exactly how they're doing it and how they're faring and competing against the likes of Uber Eats and Grubhub.
The cost of the Kiwi bot, making deliveries with it's 2-3 times less than a normal platform, DoorDash, Uber Eats, other platforms that do food delivery services. Actually, we have funny faces in there where homeless love them, also kids around Berkeley and everything. Our average time is 32 minutes of delivery. It's a multimodal system which consists in humans, couriers, that go from the restaurant to the robot. They meet in a special station, and from there the robot makes the last mile delivery. That's more or less 5 blocks. We have our own app. It's Kiwi Bot. You can search it in iOS or Android. In there you can open the lid, so the client is the only one that can do this. And yeah, in this moment, people love us in Berkeley. We have...
So how does the client open it? Is it with the app? They have to input a code right into the robot? How does that work?
In the app, we have a button, so they click on it and the lid will open. So the only one that can open it is the client.
And is that the same on the food provider side? So when they are sent to the restaurant, the provider is the only one that can open the lid to insert the food?
No. We have the couriers that go to the restaurant, pick up the food, and the couriers that are from our side, they're the ones that meet with the robot in the stations. They have access to all the robots, so they can open the lid whenever they want.
Okay, so you do have some human intervention. You go to the restaurant, you pack and bring back to your distribution center and load the robots and ship to the consumer.
Exactly, yeah.
And now you say you've done how many deliveries, and what's your expansion plan?
We already made 13,000 deliveries within a year, and our expansion plan is to go to San Jose or UCLA in the next weeks.
And the way you're set up now is you manage all the deliveries. You don't work through the restaurants. You compete directly with like Uber Eats.
Yeah, exactly. We can pick up the food. We have our own tablets, so we have all the integration with the restaurants, and we already have 15 to 20 restaurants in Berkeley.
That's incredible. Thanks a lot. I absolutely appreciate it.
Okay, thanks to you.
Sticking with the theme of robotics, we move from Kiwi Robotics, which makes home deliveries, to Mule Robotics, started by Erwin Yao. Mule Robotics provides a cart that follows you around the grocery store, automatically ringing up your food and bringing the food out to your car.
Hi, my name is Erwin. I'm the inventor of the robotic shopping cart. Basically, what we have is a cart that's present inside groceries and supermarkets that has the ability to follow you as you shop. It pairs with your phone. It has a built-in screen, scanner, and a card reader so that you can find, scan, collect, and pay for items on the spot and avoid the checkout lines. Once you are done shopping, your robot cart goes back to its station, ready to be summoned by the next user. Our robotic shopping cart is called Mule. It's a mechanized undercarriage learning engine. there are 25 million shopping carts in the U.S. alone. And we have found a way to make it relevant and useful. This is bigger than electric scooters or bike rentals, and we are raising money to fund the company because we are a small startup based in San Francisco. We are looking for $300,000 for 5% of the company to get this off the ground. This is a very important project because we know that people want to use it. And so I hope that listening to this podcast, you can visit us at mulerobotics.com. Thank you.
Tell us how you're going to disrupt the market. How are you making this more convenient with this technology?
What we want is for shopping to be fun, fast, and convenient. And if we are able to achieve that using this new platform, then the market will be disrupted because more and more people will go into physical in-store shopping malls instead of shopping online and waiting for it to be delivered. So what we wanted is for retailers or companies to be excited about making in-store shopping fun again.
Will this be impacted by autonomous stores, or will this play into the autonomous store market?
The autonomous store market is a fascinating concept, but I think it's still 5 years before, or 10 years maybe, before mainstream catches up. Our technology has been here since World War II. And the shopping cart, invented in 1946, needs disrupting. And with the technology that we have right now, 25 million shopping carts needed to be upgraded, and robotic technology will just make it mainstream.
Now, your cart seems like it'll be perfect for people who are, say, older and may not be able to push around a cart, or those who may be impaired. Am I thinking about that correctly?
Yes, precisely. When we looked at the shoppers and identify what they need, I actually interviewed a mom who's carrying a child while she is shopping. And instead of the child walking alongside her, she had to push the cart while she is carrying her baby. And that scenario gave me that thought that maybe it's about time for this cart to just follow you around. So definitely the utility and the purpose for which it serves the consumer is something that's not being addressed by anybody.
So essentially, this cart pairs with your phone and knows you specifically and follows you or leads you around the store. You put an item in, it automatically scans it, tallies it, and lets you pay on your phone right from the cart, which lets you bypass all the lines and not have to even touch the cart, really. It follows you around the store.
Yes, precisely. I'm glad you got the concept real concretely. It's amazing. And the funny thing is that anybody could have thought about this because we have all this technology present. But we're the first to patent a design that allows you to do all that.
Tell us again where we can find you and how much you're trying to raise.
We are at mulerobotics.com. That's M-U-L-E, robotics.com, with our pitch deck. It's a complete 14-slide presentation of what we want to do and how you can help us make this a reality. We are raising $300,000, 5% of the company, a really small value that we know and we can work on to make sure that this becomes a reality.
Perfect. Thanks a lot again. We absolutely appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Wow. Great. Thank you. I'm going to take a few pictures.
Sure.
Next, I got a chance to talk to one of my personal heroes, former Mythbusters cast member Kari Byron. Kari's working with startup SmartGurlz, the company that's making programmable robots for girls. I hope she didn't mind me following her around like a little puppy while I got this interview. I also got a chance to talk with SmartGurlz founder and CEO, Swami Albrechtsen.
Hi, my name is Kari Byron. I'm formerly on Mythbusters, but now I'm involved with SmartGurlz, which is a coding robot for girls, and it's the only coding robot for girls.
And why was there a need to have that? What did you see that was driving the need for the solution?
Well, I have a daughter. She's 9 years old, and she's in a lot of after-school programs that have computer science, and I watch watched from the time she started at age 5 to now, girls started dropping out of the programs. And by now, she's the only girl in her Minecraft classes. So I went out looking for toys and things that would keep her interested in tech. And all I could find were robots and cars and things that were very masculine. And a lot of her friends aren't attracted to that. And then I found SmartGurlz and I contacted them to try to get involved with them because they make a coding robot that kind of meets girls on their playing field. Girls learn more emotive and storytelling ways with real life context. So this is basically a scooter ridden by a doll, and the doll is interchangeable. You can put whatever doll you want on there, but the dolls themselves all have some sort of STEM background. One's a computer coder, one's a chemist, one's an artist, and there's an app that is connected that teaches basic block coding so that we can kind of hide the broccoli in the cheese sauce. They get to play with the toy, they get to learn coding, and hopefully we can bridge that gap that happens because girls stop being interested in tech and we lose them by about 70% by the time they're age 12. If we actually want to diversify Silicon Valley, I think we need to start by playing.
I absolutely agree. Thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
All right, it's okay.
Now, those are panels.
That's it?
Yep, go right ahead.
Great. Okay.
So tell us a little bit about you,
Really close together.
why you founded the company, where you are now, where you see yourself going.
So hi, I'm Sharmia Brexon. I'm the founder and CEO of SmartGurlz. I started the company 2 years ago. We were on Shark Tank last year. We got a deal with David.
Guns and stuff like that.
You know, we found it very complex, and into it, many girls like stop coding or stop their interest in science and technology and engineering and math by age 13. So like the age from 5 to 12 is actually like a really tough time, and you want to get those girls before they like pop out and say, you know what, I don't have confidence, I don't have interest in STEM. So that's what we're doing. So our products are from girls age 5 plus. Like it uses products that they have already, dolls. So you can take any doll and put it on a robot, drive it around, learn how to code, get inspired, and hopefully become like the next computer genius of the world.
And where do you see the company going?
Well, we've got we're in the middle of negotiating with Apple and Walmart and some exclusive products with them. We have a new 3D print doll that we're working on. So we're looking for investors. So contact us at smartgurlz.com, and we can send you some investment materials. We've already nearly raised half of our round already, so we're looking for another $1 million.
Excellent. Now tell us again where we can find you and get involved with the company.
Yeah, smartgurlz.com. There's contact us on smartgurlz.com.
Excellent.
You'll get to me.
Thank you very much.
Sure, no problem.
Finally, I got a chance to meet with Koder. Koder will help you build an app or a website using crowdsourced coders. So you don't have to know the tech. Just post your stuff to their platform and they'll match you up with the right developers. Check this interview out.
So a company, I don't have to have any sort of a tech background, but I can post my task on your platform and you'll match me up with someone who can turn my idea into an app or into a platform to help me in the gig economy.
Yeah, so you have to be that technical. We do some vetting of the work that you need to get done. So ensure that you don't overprice or underprice the work, or if there's something missing that needs to be entered in the requirements, and there's a light screening process we do there. So after you do that, we will automatically match you with development.
And tell us how does the payments, how does that work? Do we pay your platform and then you pay the provider, or how does that work?
Yeah, so in order to use our platform, you actually have to buy our own cryptocurrency and use it within the platform. So we call it Coin, and all transactions in the system have to be done in this cryptocurrency. So when you buy the coin, you can post a bounty using that coin, and the bounty developer will get the reward of those tokens.
Now, tell us about support. What do you do after the contract is initiated? If I have any sort of dispute, what kind of support do you provide to customers?
Yeah, so we do. So the bounty developer has to post evidence that they have the work done. So you will be able to actually review the work that you receive, and that will be your dispute resolution. But in case there also we do have some other support dispute resolution services where if something you get isn't up to par with your standard, you can work something out on a case-by-case.
Excellent. Now tell us where we can find you again, and again tell us again what's the benefit to gig startups that are looking to compete with some of these giants.
Yeah, so you can find us at koder.com. We have an app in the App Store. You can download it, Koder Mobile. And to your question about the gig economy, there's many people around the world that would just want to work in a freelance model where they work on their own time. They are able to work on products they know they'll like. So this gives them more autonomy versus a regular.
Excellent. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Gorillapreneurs, thank you for listening to this episode. I also want to thank the people at TechCrunch Disrupt 2018 for putting on a fabulous conference. I've been to several conferences, and this is probably one of the best, as I said earlier, conferences that I've been to. Even the breakout rooms and the charging stations turned out to be great places to network. They set up their lunchroom tables so that it was easy to meet people and make some good connections. You guys know how to run a conference. And for those of you who haven't been, there's still time for you to get a discount on TechCrunch 2019, which will be held in September in San Francisco. I plan to be there, and I plan to bring you back some great quotes and great interviews just like I did this year. I also want to thank the people at Speaker, I got a chance to see you guys at the booth on the floor, and I appreciate you getting me into the conference. You're absolutely fantastic, and I want to tell everyone who's thinking about podcasting that if you're not getting it hosted on Speaker, you're not doing it right. Finally, guys, support the show. Go to patreon.com/gorillapreneur and donate to the show. We want to bring stuff like what we saw at TechCrunch Disrupt 2018 to the Black Belt South, particularly Selma, Alabama. On December the 8th, 2018, I'll be hosting the 5th annual Selma Business Pitch Contest, which is sponsored by Sierra Consulting. We're nowhere near where TechCrunch is, but we have to start somewhere, and we need your help. Go to patreon.com/gorillapreneur and be a part of bringing a fab lab to Selma, Alabama. One last favor from you guys, and I know you'll do it because you're great people. Like the show, share the show, and leave comments on the show. Because if you can't contribute, if you can't come to the pitch contest, you can share what we're trying to do here with others, which is to inspire entrepreneurship, inspire people to take a look at the sharing economy and make it part of the business design of what you're trying to launch. Save the world, build a business, and make a profit. Gorillapreneurs, Scott Sullivan said it best in episode 7. Be a mace, sharpen those spikes, and remember, if you're not breaking something, your company might be the next thing that gets broken.
Thank you for listening to the Gorillapreneur, the Art of Waging Small Business Warfare podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, you may also enjoy the book Gorillapreneur, Small Business Strategy for Davids Wanting to Defeat Goliaths, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes. Follow Mark Peterson on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Gorillapreneur. Now I want to close with a quote from the great Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu. Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first, then seek to win. Keep fighting, Gorillapreneurs.